In order to support the doctrine of tithing, some pastors believe Jesus Christ teaches or preach tithing according to Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Some believers simply believe that believers today must tithe because tithe is written, mentioned, or stated in the New Testament. Let us look through the Bible to establish the truth. If Jesus did teach or preach tithe in Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Matthew chapter 23, verse 23 read, Woe unto ye, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of meats, and of anise, and of cumin, and have omitted the wealthier matter of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. This ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Now, many of these pastors emphasize on the last sentence of this paragraph, which states, This ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. So they emphasize that Christ indeed teach tithe or preach tithe according to Matthew 23, verse 23. However, this is not true. Jesus Christ rebuked the scribes and the Pharisees for priding themselves in payment of tithes while ignoring the more important aspect of the law. And which is why Christ said, This ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Now, most importantly, is also to understand the era in which Christ lived on earth. According to Galatians chapter 4, verse 4, which read, But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law. Now, the relevance of this verse with the payment of tithing is to help you understand the time in which Christ lived. Christ being made under the law, Christ was made in the era in which the law was still in effect, under the priesthood of the tribe of Levites. So Christ himself was subject to the law of Moses. So when Christ speaks to the Pharisees that this ought ye to do and not to leave the others undone, do not in any way translate or imply that believers today have to keep the law on tithing, because Christ indeed was addressing the scribes and Pharisees which were living under the law of Moses according to the law of Moses. The law of grace came to effect at the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, which again is the reason why when Christ at some point healed or performed miracle, he always encouraged those whom he healed to go show themselves to the high priest, as Moses has commanded them in the law. And we see one of these examples in the book of Matthew chapter 8 from verse 4. Matthew chapter 8 verse 4 read, And Jesus said unto him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way and show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded thee for a testimony unto them. So Christ himself urged that the law of Moses must be kept in his era. Why? Because he himself is made under the law, according to Galatians chapter 4, verse 4. To understand more about tithing, get a copy of my book titled The Truth About Tithe, First Fruits, and Child Dedication. The e-book is available free of charge only at your request. I urge you to support my ministry by liking, sharing, and subscribing to my page. God bless you.